Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Asked Syrian President Assad family in Moscow, granted asylum. Biden calls Assad's fall a moment of historic opportunity. After Trump's push for immediate Ukraine ceasefire, Zelensky says he wants enduring peace. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri visits Dhaka amid attack on minorities. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead global investment push will inaugurate Rising Rajasthan Global Investment Summit 2024. And in sports, Indian teenage challenger D. Gukesh will look to continue dominance against China's Ding Liren in the Game 12 of the World Chess Championship 2024. As Syrian rebels swept into the capital of Damascus, the ousted President Bashar al-Assad has taken shelter in Russia that has been supporting him for years. Russian news agencies say late on Sunday that Assad and his family were in Moscow and have been granted asylum on humanitarian grounds. Residents cheered on the streets as the rebel factions heralded the departure of Assad, saying that the city of Damascus is free. The government fell 11 days after the rebels began a surprise advance, more than 13 years after Assad's crackdown on anti-government protests ignited Syria's civil war. The UN Security Council will convene on Monday for an emergency closed-door meeting regarding Syria. Syrian rebel commander Abu Muhammad al-Golani was greeted by cheering crowds on Sunday as he entered Damascus's historic Umayyad Mosque, following the rebels' declaration of President Bashar al-Assad's ouster. Speaking inside the mosque, Golani described the victory as a turning point for the region, accusing Assad for having handed Syria over to Iranian ambitions.
This victory, my brothers, is a new chapter in the history of entire Islamic nation. It is a turning point for the region. How many dangers have we avoided? He handed Syria over to Iranian ambitions, spreading sectarianism and corruption throughout the country.
Meanwhile, leaders from across the world have termed it as a historic day for Syrians. US President Joe Biden on Sunday said deposed Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad should be held accountable, but called for the nation's political unrest a historic opportunity for Syrians to rebuild their country. Biden also warned that Washington will remain vigilant against the emergence of terrorist groups.
After 13 years of civil war in Syria, more than half a century of brutal authoritarian rule by Bashar Assad and his father before him, rebel forces have forced Assad to resign his office and flee the country. We're not sure where he is, but there's word that he's in Moscow. At long last, the Assad regime has fallen.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also hailed the ousting of Syria's Bashar al-Assad on Sunday as a historic day that followed the blows delivered by Israel against Assad's supporters, Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
This is a historic day for the Middle East. The collapse of the Assad regime, the tyranny in Damascus, offers great opportunity, but also is fraught with significant dangers. This collapse is a direct result of our forceful action against Hezbollah and Iran, Assad's main supporters. It set off a chain reaction of all those who want to free themselves from this tyranny and its oppression.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in a statement, hailed the end of Syria's dictatorial regime and also urged the country to rebuild after President Assad's sudden fall. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also welcomed the end of President Bashar al-Assad's regime, emphasizing that it was important to find a political way forward. Meanwhile, Germany's Olaf Scholz said that he stands with the Syrians, hoping for a free and peaceful future, and said that Germany would offer its support. The UN Security Council is expected to convene on Monday afternoon for an emergency closed-door meeting regarding Syria in the aftermath of President Bashar al-Assad fleeing the country. The meeting was requested by Russia earlier on Sunday. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky said that Kyiv needed an enduring peace to protect it from Russia after talks in Paris with US President-elect Donald Trump. Earlier in an interview, US President-elect Trump said that his incoming administration would reduce aid to Ukraine. He added that Zelensky was keen for a deal and called for negotiations to start. The pair met a day earlier with French leader Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace. Trump has boasted that he could end the conflict swiftly without saying how. The Kremlin, meanwhile, accused Ukraine of refusing to negotiate and said that its conditions to enter peace talks, which include Kyiv giving up 4 regions, remain unchanged. Trump had earlier called for an immediate ceasefire and called for talks to begin. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol survived an impeachment vote on Saturday. Prosecutors named President Yoon as a subject of a criminal investigation, and his former defense minister was arrested. South Korea's defense ministry spokesman said that President Yoon Suk-yeol is still commander-in-chief and in control of the armed forces. Yoon has said that he has entrusted his fate to the ruling party after an attempt to impose martial law last Tuesday prompted calls for him to step down and launch the country into political turmoil. The main opposition, Democratic Party, which led the failed impeachment motion, said it would raise the motion again. Meanwhile, the commander of South Korea's special forces that stormed parliament last week after a martial law declaration said that he was ordered to block lawmakers from entering the chamber to prevent a vote to lift the emergency measure. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, who is now a subject of criminal investigation, declared martial law last Tuesday. Yoon survived an impeachment vote in an opposition-led parliament on Saturday, which plunged South Korea into a constitutional crisis. Yoon said ahead of the vote that he was entrusting his fate to the ruling party, but did not offer to resign. Meanwhile, hundreds of doctors in South Korea staged a rally near the Seoul University Hospital, calling on President Yoon Suk-yeol to step down. Yoon's decree had directed all medical staff, including striking doctors, to return to work within 48 hours or face punishment. Furious at the martial law command decree specifying the punishment of majors, medical doctors took to the streets demanding the punishment of those responsible and the nullification of medical reforms being pursued by the government. Now, this is the first time that doctors have taken collective action alone since the parliamentary conflict began in February. Ghana's former president John Dramani Mahama has won the country's presidential election after his main opponent, Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, conceded defeat. Now, the defeat in election ends 2 terms in power for the governing New Patriotic Party under President Nana Akufo-Addo, marked by Ghana's worst economic crisis in years. Bawumia said he called Mahama of the National Democratic Congress to congratulate him. Earlier, NDC spokesman said the party's internal review of results showed Mahama won 56% of the vote against 41% of Bawumia. The vice president said Mahama won the presidency decisively. Mahama, who was president of Ghana between July 2012 and January 2017, confirmed on X that he had received Bawumia's congratulatory call over his emphatic victory. Ghana's election commission had said official results were likely due by Tuesday. In Georgia, thousands of pro-Europe protesters rally against the government's decision to shelve European Union accession talks, marking the 11th consecutive day of demonstrations amid the post-election crisis. The opposition and the president rejected the ruling Georgian Dream Party's claimed victory in October 26 parliamentary polls, and tens of thousands had taken to the streets against alleged election fraud. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze's shock decision last week that EU candidate Tbilisi will not seek the opening of accession talks triggered a fresh wave of protests, which met with a tough police response. Earlier, Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky, who has warned of Russia's influence in Georgia for months, said that he fully backed Georgia's anti-government protest. Zelensky urged Tbilisi to stop surrendering to Moscow in a meeting with Zurabishvili in Paris. Zurabishvili has alleged widespread fraud in October's parliamentary polls, branding the freshly elected legislature and government illegitimate. The United States, France and Germany are among the Western countries to have denounced the crackdown on protests, but the government has refused to back down. Tongan Prime Minister Secy Sovaleni abruptly resigned on Monday, stepping down in the wake of a power struggle with the Pacific nation's royal family. Tonga has been a constitutional monarchy since the late 19th century. However, the royals have slowly relinquished some of their powers. The Tongan king remains a figure of considerable influence. Initially, the Prime Minister refused to heed to the king's demands, citing legal advice that the move was unconstitutional. But Sovaleni eventually backed down following fierce debate in the parliament and after he was forced to deny allegations of insulting the king. Authorities are closing in on the man suspected of killing United Health executive Brian Thompson. Thompson, who became CEO of United Health's insurance unit in April 2021, was shot on Wednesday in what police described as a targeted attack by a masked assailant lying in wait. The murder occurred just before the company's annual investor conference at the Hilton Hotel on 6th Avenue. The shooting sparked a massive manhunt for the gunman, who fled on foot wearing a hooded jacket, balaclava and grey backpack before mounting an electric bike and riding into Central Park. US President Joe Biden hosted Kennedy Center honorees at the White House on Sunday. Celebrities, cultural icons, and a few surprise guests gathered for the annual Kennedy Center Honor celebration on Sunday evening in Washington. The John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts selected the 47th honorees for Lifetime Artistic Achievements. This year's recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Award for Artistic Accomplishment include director Francis Ford Coppola, the Grateful Dead jazz trumpeter Arturo Sandoval, and singer and songwriter Bonnie Raitt. Also, in addition, the vulnerable Harlem Theatre, the Apollo, which has launched generations of black artists, was also recognized. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, ahead in the bulletin, we get you details of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to Russia. India's External Affairs Minister will co-chair the 4th India-Bahrain High Joint Commission with his Bahrainian counterpart. We will also show you Christmas festivities around the globe.
Sikkim is not a destination, it's a journey. Into spirituality, into untouched nature, into abundance. A lesson in compassion, perseverance, harmony, organic living. A fine example of respecting tradition. While embracing modernity. Welcome to a small state with big treasures.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the DD India News Hour. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri arrived in Dhaka to lead the Indian delegation at the next round of India-Bangladesh Foreign Office consultation. The FOC, led by foreign secretaries, is a structured engagement between Bangladesh and India. This is the first high-level engagement between India and Bangladesh post-political changeover in Bangladesh on August 5th. The last FOC was held in New Delhi on November 4th, 2023. During the visit, the Indian Foreign Secretary is expected to pay a courtesy call on Bangladesh's Foreign Affairs Advisor, Mohammad Tawheed Hussain. The visit comes days after New Delhi urged Dhaka to ensure the safety and security of Hindus and other minorities there following reports of violence against them. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in Moscow on an official visit to Russia. During his visit, the Indian Defence Minister will call on Russian President Vladimir Putin. Rajnath Singh will also co-chair the 21st meeting of India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation with his Russian counterpart Andriy Belosov in Moscow on Tuesday. The two leaders will review the entire range of multifaceted relations between the two nations in the field of defence, including military-to-military and industrial cooperation. They will also exchange views on contemporary regional and global issues of mutual interest. As part of the visit, the Indian Defence Minister will also commission the Indian Navy's latest multi-role stealth-guided missile frigate INS Tushil today at Yantra shipyard. Rajnath Singh will also pay tributes at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Moscow to honour the Soviet soldiers killed during the Second World War. He will also interact with the members of the Indian community. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will co-chair the 4th India-Bahrain High Joint Commission with Foreign Minister of Bahrain Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani in Manama today. Now, this ministerial meeting will review the entire gamut of bilateral relations and discuss avenues to further strengthen the multifaceted ties between India and Bahrain. Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Bahrain's Manama on Saturday on the final leg of his two-nation visit. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Sunday addressed the 20th IISS Manama Dialogue 2024 in Bahrain. Dr. S. Jaishankar projected India's growth trajectory, stating that as nearly $4 trillion economy, it is expected to double this decade. He also presented India's strategy for West Asia, highlighting India's humanitarian assistance to Gaza and India's relations with Iran and also the Gulf Cooperation Council nations. Let's get to a detailed report.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Sunday presented India's comprehensive strategy for West Asia at 20th IIS Manama Dialogue 2024 in Bahrain. Jaishankar spoke on a number of issues, including expansion of BRICS, I2U2 grouping, humanitarian assistance to Gaza, and relations with Iran, among others.
It is a region where we do about 170 to 180 billion dollars worth of trade every year, where there is an Indian diaspora today of about 10 million people and growing, which is for us not just a key energy partner, but a broader economic partner, a very crucial source of investment, and increasingly an important technology collaborator.
While speaking about connectivity, Jaishankar highlighted the importance of India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. Looking ahead, Jaishankar projected India's growth trajectory, stating that as a nearly $4 trillion economy expected to double this decade, India's engagement with the region will only deepening. He positioned India as a credible partner ready to take on greater responsibilities in the region's development and security architecture. The minister outlined India's role in regional maritime security, maintaining a naval presence in strategic water and participating in international security initiatives. He highlighted India's collaboration with the Combined Maritime Forces based in Bahrain, along with regular bilateral naval exercises with regional partners. Minister expressed support for peace initiatives like the Abraham Accord and the I2U2 grouping comprising India, Israel and the UAE and the United States.
I think today Just as we are able, to be a member of the Quad and be a member of the BRICS, as we are able to talk to a Russia and to a Ukraine, I think we do not see the world in sharp binaries. We have a relationship with Iran. We are very open about it. We have a very strong relationship with individual GCC countries and collective. And we think it's perfectly possible to coexist to everybody's benefit.
At 28th IISS Manama Dialogue 2024, which started on December 6, ministers, policymakers and decision makers gathered to debate the Middle East's most pressing foreign policy, defense and security challenges. With inputs from Vinod Kumar in Dubai, Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Dutch authorities on Sunday said that they believed an explosion and inferno that caused an apartment block to collapse, killing at least 5 people, was a criminal act. However, the cause of explosion is still unknown. Hague police chief said that the investigations were focused on a car seen speeding away from the scene shortly after the explosion occurred at 5:15 GMT on Saturday. Now, according to the Hague mayor, a small explosion occurred first, followed by a larger one and a huge fire. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. Christmas has a special hub in a small town in central Mexico called Tiajipuahua, where locals make beautiful traditional glass-blown ornaments. The town emerged as a leader in the production of handcrafted ornaments. Tourists from across Mexico are drawn to the town for unique ornaments as well as other attractions like the Santa Claus Village. Also, in a unique event in western Mexico, more than 2,000 runners participated in the annual Santa race, despite the best efforts of a Grinch to block their path. Runners dressed in red suits and white beard as Santa Claus participated in 1, 5 and 10 kilometers races. The runners enjoyed the tradition and camaraderie of the race, emphasizing on the importance of both physical activity and holiday cheer. In US also, hundreds of people dressed as Santa Claus ski together to raise money for the river fund. With beards and stocking caps flapping, some 300 red-suited Santas were lively and quick at the Foggy River Ski Resort in western Maine. The annual event has been held for more than 20 years and has raised a fund of $9,000 this year. And residents of Guatemala City kicked off the Christmas season by celebrating a centuries-old Christian tradition known as burning of the devil. People build bonfires to burn effigies of the devil and household junk as part of a tradition to purify their homes and communities every year. It takes place on the eve of the Catholic holiday day of the Immaculate Conception. The act marks the start of Christmas festivities in the Central American country. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, many important bills are listed in both houses of Indian Parliament as it resumes today. Over 100 exhibitors will showcase India's prowess in the manufacturing sector at Rajasthan Global Business Expo in Jaipur. And Asia's first dental museum in Vadodara earns prestigious spot in the Guinness Book of World Records.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. share in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD Indian News. A quick relook at the top stories now. Ousted Syrian President Assad and family in Moscow granted asylum. Biden calls Assad's fall a moment of historic opportunity. After Trump's push for immediate Ukraine ceasefire, Zelensky says he wants enduring peace. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri visits Dhaka amid attack on minorities. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead global investment push will inaugurate Rising Rajasthan Global Investment Summit 2024. And in sports, Indian teenage challenger D. Gukesh will look to continue dominance against China's Ding Liren in the Game 12 of the World Chess Championship 2024. The Northwest Indian state of Rajasthan is hosting a 3-day International Investors Summit in Jaipur. This will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The summit is aimed at attracting investment from across the country and the globe. DD India's correspondent Vishal Baristo gets us this report.
Pink City Jaipur is rolling out a red carpet to woo investors. With the adjacent state, Gujarat, setting an excellent example of economic growth, Rajasthan wants to follow in its footsteps. Government of Rajasthan has high hopes from Rising Rajasthan.
Countries are looking forward to investing in Rajasthan. They have confidence in India. They have confidence in the government of India. They realize it's a stable government. It's a government that is investing into development. The policies of the government are favorable to business as well as for employment generation in our country.
The summit is showcasing exhibitors from India and abroad. Startups working for the defense sector are showcasing their strength.
These robots can operate in the -6 degree temperature at that time, and endurance is around 6 hours continuously, and through a distance of 3 kilometers these robots can be operated. There is a multiple sites, thermal and optical sites, that can be utilized and utilized for the surveillance purpose, border surveillance purpose. And these are the autonomous eye that can detect any human, drones and multiple vehicles for a far away.
The foreign participation is in the field of modern machinery and latest technology, with the plant based in Nimrana, Rajasthan.
It is about for 2.5 years. So it is I work in Nimrana factory. There we provide so many kinds of motor. So it is we make in India. So from Rajasthan. So it is in the future. So it is more investment. So in Nimrana factory.
The summit would be inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi on 9th of December.
With foreign participation from countries like Poland, Japan, Germany and Denmark, more than 100 exhibitors are showcasing their strength in this 3-day-long summit. The whole idea is to tell the world that Rajasthan is replete, Rajasthan is ready, so invest in the future. With cameraman Mohit Uike in Jaipur, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Robotics is an integral part of modern-day military operations. At Rising Rajasthan Summit in Jaipur, DD India correspondent caught up with one such startup which is making robots for Indian Armed Forces, also known as unmanned ground vehicle. Take a look.
From firefighting to neutralizing the terrorist, the unmanned ground vehicle play a major role. And this is one such vehicle. It has been designed by Club First Robotics, which is a startup from Jaipur, and I am here at Rising Rajasthan. I have with me Bhuvnesh Mishra, and he will tell us how this vehicle played a major role for India's defense forces in neutralizing the terrorists in Akhnur. Bhuvnesh, first of all, tell us the story.
Actually, this is UGV, unmanned ground vehicle, can be attached with the multiple payloads. The payload capacity is around 500 kg. At that time, in the terrorist neutralization and Akhnur, this robot is mounted with the PKD and with the autonomous weapon station. And basically, this was the first incident and first operation where no casualty reported.
Now, I will talk to Nilima. Nilima, how did it come to you that you should design something which could be crucial for the self-reliance of Indian defense?
There are so many applications there in the defense sectors, like the rescue is there, terrains are different, altitudes are different. Also, their application like rescue, EOD, bomb defusal, weapon station. They also need some payload capacities also on some of the some autonomous systems. So with that vision in our mind, we had developed a multi-utility UGV on which we can mount, as per the application, many utilities. Like here we had mounted the firefighting and the thermal imaging cameras. Like we can mount multiple things on it. So for the defense, we are making a little easier that like they can use a single UGV for the multiple application.
We'll go back to Bhuvnesh. Bhuvnesh, tell us about the use of this vehicle.
Actually, this robot is designed for that application only. That robot can operate at the 16,000 feet of altitude. And again, this robot is tested as per the MIL standards. These robots can operate in the -6 degree temperature at that time. And endurance is around 6 hours continuously. And through the distance of 3 kilometers, these robots can be operated. There is a multiple sites, thermal and optical sites that can be utilized and utilized for the surveillance purpose, border surveillance purpose. And these are the autonomous eye that can detect any human drones and multiple vehicles for a far away. So these robots utilize the multiple tasks in the like payload, logistic purpose, material handling, and mounting of the weapon station, etc.
So there you heard from Bhuvnesh and Nilima, and they are showcasing their strength. They are from Jaipur, the capital of the western state of Rajasthan. Now these exhibits want to tell the world that India is now far becoming self-reliant in the defense sector. With cameraman Mohit Uike in Jaipur, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
The Indian Parliament will resume its daily proceedings of the winter session on Monday. The Railways Amendment Bill 2024 and the Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024 will be taken up in the lower house or the Lok Sabha of India's Parliament for consideration and passage. In the upper house of Parliament, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Banking Laws Amendment Bill 2024 for further amendment of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, the Banking Regulation Act 1949, the State Bank of India Act 1959, the Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Act 1970, and the Banking Companies Acquisition of Transfer of Undertakings Act 1980, as passed by the lower house. Our correspondent Anil Thomas is joining us to get us more. Anil, good morning. We've just given a broad outline of the legislative business that will be taken up in both the houses of, in lower house of the Parliament. Get us more. How are both the houses, planned for the day? What all is to be taken up?
Well, good morning, Preeti. Well, we are in the penultimate week of the winter session of Parliament. Week 1, Week 2 have been exactly opposites of the way business has been conducted in the House. If Week 1 was entirely about pandemonium and no business transaction taking place, Week 2 was, exactly the opposite. We had almost 4 bills passing in both the Houses of Parliament, and Week 3, at least the tone and tenor looks right. The opposition has asked for a full-length discussion, especially on the External Affairs Minister's statement. But all in all, the 3 bills that you mentioned, 2 in Lok Sabha, 1 in Raj Sabha, clearly could play out today. But it's the first week, and generally over the weekend, opposition tries to get its house in order. And especially in the morning hour, the little buzz that we've gathered outside Parliament, the opposition looked a bit in tatters, but they seem to be getting their house once again in order. We'll have to wait and watch as Parliament proceedings start, how things unfold in Parliament. But the opposition, irrespective of the winter chill, looks geared up, especially on a full discussion on that External Affairs Minister's statement.
All right, Anil, what do you make of the proceedings of the House so far? Because we've seen repeated walkouts, we've seen repeated adjournments. Get us more as to when we talk of the constructive business that has been, done in both the Houses of Parliament till now. How has been the winter session?
Well, I think the government, you got to give full marks to the government, the way bills were discussed, deliberated and passed in both Houses of Parliament, especially the Banking Regulation amendment bill that was passed in Lok Sabha and will be brought up today in the Rajya Sabha. And also with regards to the railway amendment bill, that Union Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav had brought about in Lok Sabha. It's almost the fourth straight day we're going to see deliberations takes place. So, equal opportunity being given for the opposition, especially to present their points. And it's in healthy environment that you see discussions taking place. It's not about the opposition not getting a footing. I think every opposition party, every opposition leader who's requested has been given an opportunity to speak on these issues. And that's what leads to, healthy discussions. So we'll have to wait and watch, especially, this particular week. You can expect the opposition to come full throttle, but the government seems prepared so that business transaction once again continues and we see a productive winter session of Parliament.
Anil, also the Railways Amendment Bill 2024 and the Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024 will be taken up in Lok Sabha. For the benefit of viewers, very quickly get us what is it that we look forward to in the bill?
Well, these are two important bills, purely in terms of the Railway Amendment Bill, replacing the old bill. There has been a lot of talk on how this bill could, especially change the dynamics of Indian Railways.
All right, I think we've lost contact there with Anil. We'll try getting back to him again. He was telling us more about what all business is to be taken up today in both the Houses of Parliament. We'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other stories that are making it to the headlines from across India. 4 foreigners have been detained from a boat approximately 46 nautical miles off the Tamil Nadu coast after carrying out the operation with sea-air coordination. When the suspect boat was initially reported by a fishing boat to an ICG Dornier aircraft. The 2 ICG ships apprehended the individuals on board the wooden boat on December 6th and handed them over to the Coastal Security Group of Tamil Nadu Police. Fire breaks out in plastic factory in Gwalior. 5, including 4 children, rescued. 4 children and 1 woman were rescued after a massive fire broke out in a plastic factory in Gwalior's Baraghat industrial area on Sunday night. Over 24 fire tenders were rushed into the spot in Jhansi Road police station area upon receiving information about the fire. All right, from here we'll take you live to